Chapter 11. Zelda woke up to the early orange sun beating down on her face as it peeked over the horizon just enough. She hadn't remembered to close the curtains just over the bed before falling asleep, not that she'd even noticed that they were open, and apparently neither had Link. She stirred with a groan and pulled the blanket up higher to cover her eyes. Blanket? She sat up and looked around, but Link was nowhere to be found. She was on a bed, under a blanket that she'd definitely forgotten to get under when she'd fallen asleep playing with his soft hair. Goddess, what had come over her? Freedom away from the palace had affected her maybe a little too much. She rolled off the bed and ran her fingers through her hair to untangle some of the knots from the night. For some reason, it was uncomfortable to be like this, even in the early dawn of the new day. She was used to her bed, her brush, her vanity, her hairpins. Things that could make her presentable in front of people. Sure, it was just Link and his family, but in that instant, she keenly felt alone in a stranger's room without any means of tidying herself up. Crossing her arms discreetly over her chest, she wondered how she hadn't even thought to feel modest last night. It was as if she'd been drunk, and nothing registered to her. But her clothes were all in Errol's room, so she'd have to deal with a trip outside Link's to get them back. She pushed open the door and was hit with a whiff of fresh cooking, the likes of which Zelda hadn't smelled since she used to sneak into the kitchens at the castle and watch the cooks from where she'd sit on the counter. That had been put to a halt once her father realized that she was sitting near open flames, ovens, hot oil, and other things that could damage Hyrule's future savior, and she'd been banned from returning to the kitchens. Zelda followed the aroma and leaned against the wall as she saw Reina over the stove, humming to herself. And with the same acute sense as Link had, she turned around and smiled at Zelda.
I'm so sorry if I woke you, Your Highness. It's still early. You can return to sleep.
Zelda shook her head and came out into the area a little further, looking around without seeing Link. Her tense arms relaxed slightly.
You didn't. I'm used to waking up early now. I train with your son around this time.
Reina smiled wider.
He sends letters with updates, though not frequently enough. He still struggles sometimes, being away from home. I don't know. Some deeply rooted instinct must be inside him, because that poor boy hasn't lived home in ages. He was trained young, and was taken to live with his father and brother in the barracks in Central Hyrule when he was just a little boy.
Really?
He was extremely happy to come home, though. Told me it was a surprise from you, Your Highness.
It was.
Zelda could only stare at the food in order to try to hide her grin.
A thank you of sorts, for all his patience with me. I haven't been the easiest to work with, especially when we first started.
Sounds like he didn't mind much. He's done nothing but sing your praises, especially this morning.
Zelda huffed out a small laugh, nervous, curious, and a little giddy. She was still feeling the dizzying effect of freedom, it seemed.
This morning?
Reina hesitated, but smiled in Zelda's direction.
He's gone for a run. Full of energy, that one. I could never be an early bird. I'm only here for the food. Otherwise, I'd sleep until noon.
Your food smells excellent, so I don't blame you.
Thank you, Your Highness.
Reina smiled even larger, now with a proud glint in her eyes.
Link and I used to cook together all the time. He actually taught me this recipe.
He did?
Yes, it's from Hebra.
Reina's smile never seemed to fade, but it grew and shrank with her varying levels of excitement.
I'm so glad he's home. I've missed him. Thank you for bringing him, Your Majesty.
Please, you can call me Zelda. My titles are a mouthful.
Reina's face fell.
Oh, I could never.
Princess, then. It's at least fewer syllables.
Nodding, Reina returned her attention to the food.
I can do that, Princess.
She grabbed a clean fork and scooped a piece up.
Would you like some? I know it's not likely the quality of food you're used to, and I could make you something else if you don't like it.
Zelda looked around at the empty house.
Oh, I don't want to impose and eat someone else's meal.
You're a guest. You are accounted for with portion size, Princess. Don't worry about that.
Then I'd love some. Thank you.
Reina scooped out a portion of the meal, a meat sautéed in something green. Zelda sat at the small table and took a bite. It was delicious. Something about it tasted fresher than the food she usually ate, and it was more impactful than food from an inn. It was homemade, and Zelda smiled her appreciation.
This is fantastic. I love it. Thank you.
I'm glad you do.
Zelda took another eager bite.
Where is everyone?
Errol goes out in the mornings to look for work doing odd jobs. Elwyn is in the field we own across town. I usually join him, but I want to be here in case Link returns. And Link said he was going for a run and then to the waterfalls. Oh, which reminds me.
She wandered off before returning with Zelda's clothes neatly folded into a pile.
I washed them. They're dried now, so you can put them back on.
Oh, you didn't have to. But thank you so much. You're very kind.
It was my pleasure. Oh, would you like seconds?
Zelda looked down, not realizing she'd eaten everything already. She'd have asked for more at home, but she still felt like she was imposing here.
No, thank you. But it was delicious.
She grabbed her clothes and held them against her. They were still warm.
I'm going to change in Link's room. In case he returns...
I'll stop him.
Thank you.
Zelda was glad her clothes were the comfortable ones she'd worn for the ride to drop Link off, but she did wish she'd brought at least one extra change. She folded the night clothes she'd borrowed and set them on the bed before changing. She left the room while trying to braid a strand of her untamed hair, much the same way that her ladies would do for her when she requested it. But she was irritated. The technique was not something she'd ever learned to do on her own, and resigned to simply tie it out of her face instead. There was so much she couldn't do on her own. It frustrated her.
Here, let me help.
Reina held out a hand, and Zelda faltered, but handed over her hairband.
Thank you. Again.
Reina made quick work of it, using her fingers as a brush and gathering the hair all together.
Errol used to want her hair in pigtails all the time, and Link always preferred having longer hair. I'm more than used to helping with hair. Once you become a mother, you become everyone's mother.
Her fingers moved expertly as she plaited a braid out of Zelda's face. Smiling when Reina stepped back, Zelda ran her hand over it in approval.
Thank you.
No need to thank me for every little thing, Princess. But you're quite welcome.
Where can I find Link? A waterfall? I think he'd appreciate learning that his training has impeded my ability to sleep in nowadays.
She grabbed Link's cloak and fastened it around her neck, just in case she'd need the hood if someone looked suspicious of her.
Yes, cross the bridge, and then just follow the hill on your left down. The path will take you straight there.
Zelda followed the instructions in a daze, not unaware that Reina was watching her from afar. The path was simple, and kempt grass lined the cobblestones. The waterfall was hard to miss, and Zelda was able to head straight for it, enjoying the flowers that lined the way, the neatly trimmed bushes, and the carefully looked after area. None of the grass was overgrown, weeds had been pulled, and the trees were tall and healthy. There was even a bench in the distance just beside a separate pond from the waterfall. It was magical, with an appeal that the springs had lost on her. There was care here. There was love. It wasn't a place of forced devotion to an unwilling goddess, but a peaceful escape from a hectic life. And as she neared the waterfall, she noticed Link leaning back in the water. She hadn't expected that. For some reason, Link at the waterfall meant that he was beside the waterfall, not in it. He ran a hand through his hair and dipped his face into the ripples before shaking it out like he was a dog, pushing it back and letting himself float for a bit. She watched him for several long moments in unannounced silence. Though she couldn't see much of him, sunk down low in the water, she chastised herself for where her mind wandered, especially once she certainly got a good view of his bare shoulders and arms. And thank the goddess she'd already seen him in the Sheikah suit, or she might have had a stroke then and there. He floated too low for her to even see his chest, which, honestly at this point, was for the better. It kept her sane enough to make rational decisions. Her lips were suddenly very dry, and she scolded herself for the reaction. The butterflies, the way her heart raced. He looked relaxed, calm even. She rarely saw that from him, not when he was always alert in her presence, keeping a watchful eye out in all directions. It was nice to see him look free of all that. So, rather than indulging her very strong urge to move closer, she backed away. He needed time away from her, and he had it here, in the peaceful corner of Hateno. Link would die if she went into town without him, just in case someone knew her face, so browsing the shops was out of the question. And if she went back to the house claiming she couldn't find Link, Reina would surely help. It seemed his mother may have been masterminding something, because if she knew Link was in the waterfall and sent Zelda here anyway, she either overestimated their closeness or was eager to push them together. Not that Zelda particularly minded. Instead of returning anywhere, she sat further down the path away from the waterfall to a pond, intrigued as the light beams danced over the ripples. It made her tired to stare at the light, especially when she stood directly over it, but the colors of the waking morning were captivating. Flies buzzed over lily pads, frogs began to croak, fish peeked out to swim at the surface. She watched the pond come to life as the colors changed with the moving sun as time passed her by. And then she felt someone take the spot beside her. Turning, she saw Link settling himself, getting comfortable. He rested his arm on his knee and tucked the other underneath him. His hair was wet, but pulled back into his usual ponytail. His clothes were loose and relaxed, which she appreciated just as much, if not more, than the tight Sheikah suit. He was comfortable around her, which was more than most people could say in her presence. She didn't say anything as she watched him, instead opting for silent admiration. The sun was much higher, and it bounced off the wet sheen of his golden hair so perfectly that her hand itched to run through it again. It was only willpower that stopped her.
My mom said you'd come find me earlier this morning. I didn't see you.
I saw you. I didn't want to bother you, though, so I came here instead.
She heard Link take a breath before turning to her again.
You could have. The water was nice.
Red heat crept up her neck immediately at the thought of being near Link while dressed highly indecently. And it wasn't the worst thought.
Well, I would have had nothing to wear.
Link stared straight ahead, refusing to look at her as he fought a grin off his face.
Nope.
The flush that turned him instantly red, along with the sly smirk that he couldn't contain, shocked her into a fit of laughter.
You wish.
She playfully hit his arm, prompting him to break out into his own laugh, bashful and relieved. He caught her fists as he laughed, raising his brow in suggestive agreement at her comment, which only sparked more laughter. Despite her position as the princess, he'd come to realize that she was far more forgiving of him teasing her than he'd ever think she'd be. Just months ago, she couldn't look at him. And now? She couldn't look away. Once the moment calmed down, he cleared his throat and adjusted his foot, moving closer to her in the process.
Have you been here all morning?
Yeah. It's calming here. I'm sorry. Pura and Robbie are at the tech lab and not here. The research lab would have been a great trip for you.
Nothing I do is private. Someone would have told my father that I disobeyed him. You're the only one who lets me break the rules without ratting on me.
Would it be presumptuous of me to say that I protect my friends?
She nudged his shoulder with hers.
If spending months together on a daily basis didn't make us friends, then nothing would. You're probably my only friend, honestly. Besides Abosa. But she lives so far. I rarely see her.
That can't be true. Everyone loves you.
My ladies, my servants, the nobles, my family even. No, I have no friends. The calamity took them all. And it hasn't even begun yet. That's all they care about me for.
Link sighed, understanding too well how she felt, though their expectations were vastly different.
You know, I think you and Coil are my only friends. And Coil, I think he puts up with me more than anything. Obligatory friendship because of my family.
Well, ours isn't obligatory. If I didn't like you, I'd just have you killed.
Link chuckled and shook his head.
I'm honored.
Zelda grinned. Scooting closer, she lightly grabbed his arm, knowing that he'd jump from the sudden contact. He did, and turned to her questioningly, but she just pulled his arm until he understood to move closer and wrapped it in her arm before resting on his shoulder. He was stiff. He'd forgotten how to breathe with her this close.
Sorry. Were you okay with this?
She made to move away, but at that, he pulled her back, afraid to lose her.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was just surprised.
I thought nothing could surprise you.
You have a habit of always catching me by surprise, Princess.
With a smile, Zelda returned her head. They sat in silence for a while, perhaps afraid to break the spell with sound or movement. The sun rose higher, and the pond became more active. But Zelda's neck started to hurt, and she laid down in the grass, watching Link's face wrestle with the loss of her.
It's so peaceful here.
She closed her eyes for a moment before opening them.
I haven't had this much calm in years. Except at the springs. But there's no peace inside me there. I feel it here.
I've always thought it too impertinent to ask you about the springs.
Zelda didn't like talking about the sources of her greatest failure, but she would for Link.
I'll answer questions if you lie back with me. It's hurting my neck to look at you.
He made a face before relenting, lying back in the grass beside her, resting his head on his arm and lolling it in her direction. Goddess, he looked so comfortable. No, not just that, Zelda thought to herself as she looked him over, his arms out, open, comfortable, talking. He looked vulnerable, like he'd let his guard down for the first time in ages. Like Zelda was the only one he trusted enough to really let go.
Do you even like going to the springs?
Zelda hadn't expected that question. It was always, why don't you hear anything? Have you at least felt something? Aren't you going back to try harder?
I like leaving the castle.
He hummed, like he expected that answer, but didn't push any further. So, Zelda propped herself up onto her arms and hovered over Link, prompting him to tense up again. She knew exactly how far from the rules she was straying with Link, and she knew where the lines were drawn. As much as her body begged her to lean down to kiss him, to see if his lips were warm from the sun or dry from nerves, she wouldn't. And he'd learned to read her body well from their time training, as she'd learned his, so when she hovered, he understood where she wanted to rest, even without words, and he nodded absently. He'd have said yes to anything. So Zelda leaned her arm and head against Link's chest, lifting up as he took in a huge breath and lowering as he let it out. Despite him being a fit, solidly built soldier during their training, She was pleasantly surprised to find that he was soft as well, much softer than she'd expected.
Watch your hands.
From what?
You'll feel my heart racing embarrassingly fast.
Zelda smiled. He didn't need to say it. She could already tell what she was doing to him. It was beyond obvious, and there was nothing he could do but grin and bear it.
Do you like it better here or in Castletown?
While speaking, she had gotten more comfortable, but avoided his heart for his sake. He thought for a long moment, hardly noticing his hand creeping towards her.
Probably Castletown. I love it here, I do. But silence makes me anxious. And an extended time here gives you too much time in your head.
You don't like being in your head?
There's not much there. Not like yours.
Zelda scoffed, but waited for him to continue.
I was trained to be alert. Silence makes me feel like something's about to happen. I like being prepared, but living in that state hurts. I do it because I have to, not because I want to.
You don't like it here other than your family, then?
No, that's not it. Small doses of home are good, but large doses leave me wanting more. What about you? Where would you prefer to live?
Here? I have no expectations of me. No one is staring. I can breathe. There are wards, so I feel safe. There's this simplicity that I'm not allowed to understand back home. Here, I get to be free, even if it's just a few days.
Link lifted his hand and head, his eyes hooded as he watched her reaction. His hand creeped toward her before he caught himself. With a heavy sigh and a harsh roll of his eyes, his hand fell back down, like he couldn't even believe he'd nearly just done that. Zelda loved the way his expressions were too easy to read. She leaned closer to him and tapped his chest.
You can do whatever it is you were going to do, you know? I don't mind.
I can't.
You can. I'm telling you, you can.
I really can't, Princess.
She stared at him, her eyes wide. Wait, had she misread? Was he going to... There was no way. Did he want to kiss her? Or was she just projecting?
Oh.
She choked on the one word. It was harder to get out than she'd realized, and her face fell. God, as she was disappointed. To her slight embarrassment, Link had noticed it.
Princess, I'm sorry. I'm just a soldier.
You're not just a soldier. But I know.
Dejected, she let out a harsh breath and went to get off him. But she was surprised when his hand kept her there, his eyes wide, nervous, like he'd offended her. His other ran along the length of his face, pushing his frustrations.
We're on vacation. We can step a toe over the line. You don't need to get up. It's nice having you here.
Cautiously, she lowered herself back down, moving so she was no longer leaned over him like a table, but laid beside him instead. One of his hands snaked under her and pulled her closer once he'd wrapped the other around her waist, holding her there in an almost embrace.
Stop giving me that face.
What face?
You look sad.
I can't be sad. I'm with you, so it's just not possible.
He smiled, shaking his head.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
I know. You like your ego stroked.
That's not all I like stroked.
Zelda's eyes burst open, and she stared at him in shock. He'd just said that. Though he tried to play his words off, his entire face was red as he tried to calm himself.
I was talking about my hair. What were you thinking?
Biting her lip, Zelda had to look away from him as she felt herself set ablaze. His eyes were glistening, and she couldn't look at them anymore. Not while he laughed. Not while he looked like that, teasing her. Chuckling, he adjusted so he had a free hand and ran his knuckles lightly along her cheek, following the red that was creeping higher.
Have I made you uncomfortable?
No.
She was unsure how to make her voice any louder. In that moment, with his hand burning her even more than she already was, chilling her spine, tingling her skin, she'd been lucky she remembered how to breathe.
I'm just a soldier.
She couldn't tell if he was talking to her or to himself. Again, his knuckles brushed a light, indulgent path along her cheek. Though this time, she hummed happily and leaned into him. Link took orders easily, and he was just as good at following silent ones as verbal ones. He managed to unclench his hand slightly, offering more of his fingers along her cheek before he moved below her ear and then down her neck.
Link?
She couldn't help but call his name when he toyed with the hollow of her throat, his eyes dark on hers at the sound of his name.
I'm okay if you want to cross the line some more.
He froze, his hesitance speaking for just how badly he longed to oblige her. But his sense of self-preservation took over.
I can't. I just can't. Can this be enough?
She found her eyes closing as he caressed her cheek again.
It can.
Link took the moment to brush his fingers lightly over her closed eyelids.
You look tired.
I couldn't sleep this morning. Your exercise routine killed my ability to sleep in.
He hummed out a laugh, and Zelda could feel it in their closeness.
Rest your eyes if you want. I'm not leaving this spot.
I wonder why.
She gently scooted closer to him. She didn't hate his idea, tired from the hour she'd woken, soothed by his light caress. So she let her eyes stay shut and curled into him more than she had been. His arm tightened around her, and his hand never stopped.